Heard that a few times on Saturday in the background of the telecast. Tennessee with a big road win at Pittsburgh. Our buddy Tony Basilio, Knoxville sports talk show host, joins us for his weekly visit. I bet your post-game show was hopping.
Oh, George, I was up till, you can tell by looking at me. Let me get closer. It was a good 2:30 in the morning when we went to sleep. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
So obviously there's an excitement level right now, and rightfully so, about this. Before I turn it over to you and Watson, I'm just kind of curious, how far or how close do you think they are to nipping at the heels of an Alabama or a Georgia?
Had a call today from a guy who was, wanting to go there. And I said, I just don't think it's fair to that coaching staff. I don't think it's fair to the kids on that football team to talk about that. To me, for Tennessee right now, this is a week proposition. Now, obviously, they've got a really bad MAC team. I saw a thing today. I can't figure out what's happening in the MAC. It used to be a cradle of coaches and really fine mid-major players. The MAC has 8 of the bottom 12 teams in college football in it right now. It's very strange. Yeah. They're going through a really weird time. Florida in here next week. Florida has literally owned Tennessee. And so, George, I can't in good conscience. I don't want to do that to that staff. I don't want to do that to the kids. Talk about getting on a field and competing with Georgia and Alabama. In my mind, those two teams are light years different than Tennessee. Now, in a one-game situation, one of those teams turns the ball over 3 or 4 times and Tennessee's razor sharp offensively. Sure, it could happen. But I just think to talk like that, I don't know. It's almost like kind of irresponsible toward what Heupel and his guys are doing right now, in my mind, just in terms of expectations management.
Watson, take it over from there.
Tony, I thought that we got some things answered Saturday. We got a whole lot of things not answered Saturday. I thought we would be further down the road on where Tennessee is, but that game was a little weird to me. Anytime you lose, a guy's passed for 200 yards and a half, and he don't play in the second half. I don't care what you say. There's a little tainted to it in that way. Tennessee knocked him out. That was a very good pass rush with that not being a blitz. The guy came off the corner, beat a tackle, and hit him. But I did see things I thought were better. I thought the offensive line was better. I did. They ran the ball a little better, and they protected the quarterback better. Hooker will play better than he did Saturday. He played well, made a lot of plays. He missed plays that I've seen him make in the past. The defense was better than I thought they would be in the game. I really, now again, take away a little bit from who played quarterback in the second half. Right. And even the guy that was out there, Tony, got hurt. The second one was even limping at the end. So the big thing to me that I take out of that game, Tennessee came back with that one major plus, confidence in going on the road and beating a top 20 team. That, I don't care how you deal it or what you do, been there, done that. When you do that, there's an inner confidence you come back with that I think will be a piece of the Florida game when it comes to that. But I still see, Tony, a lot of question marks that still have to be answered.
And that's why I answered George's question the way I did. I look at Tennessee's linebackers. They turned them loose Saturday, created pressure and havoc on the quarterback. And that's all well and good. These guys struggle in space so badly. And the first half was indicative of that. You were watching what I was watching. If I'm a coordinator, I'm figuring out a way to get my guys in space, get the ball to them quickly, and let those guys go make decisions. The thing about it is, upcoming opponents, is Florida going to be able to hurt Tennessee like that? I don't know that Florida has the playmakers to hurt Tennessee that way. LSU, I don't know. That'll be their next real test after the Florida ball game. The other thing about Tennessee, it's kind of interesting is, we were talking the last couple of weeks, and you were talking about what a hardhead Narduzzi was, and I passed that along to my listening audience the next day, and I'm constantly quoting you, Watson. I think they think I'm on here with Confucius on Tuesday
Well,
night.
I'm as old as Confucius.
At any rate,
I got one thing in common with him.
Yeah, well,
I beat you to it, George.
So,
no, I wasn't going to say a word.
But Tennessee beat Narduzzi playing his game.
Yes.
Physical, tough football. And Josh Heupel showed me something the other day. A lot of these newfangled offensive guys want to get their junk in, irregardless of what happens on the scoreboard. Just as long as I get my plays in, get my calls in, run my offense, go fast. They went to the line and milked the clock a couple times. They slowed the game down some, which is a real nuance. And a lot of things happen in the game from Tennessee standpoint that are concerning. But I got to tell you, and Josh Heupel said this, and I believe this as well. I don't think last year's team wins this game. I don't think any of Pruitt's teams win that game on Saturday. And I don't know how many of Butch Jones's teams. I don't know how many teams that have been here since the former years, which, he walked out of here after 2008. I'm not sure how many teams we've seen here in 15 years that would have won that game Saturday. And I think that's a real bright spot. I really do. I think at the end of the day, at this level, my son plays golf, and they're saying in that sport is we're not painting pictures, we're writing numbers. And I think there's a lot of truth to that when it comes to SEC football as well, especially when you go on the road like that and you play at an environment like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and one of my next questions to you was when I saw him slow it down and even do a partial huddle on the goal line, I thought that was very smart because we still had times watching that game, Tony, both of us watching it in different places, but seeing a lot of the same things. I still saw inconsistency offense. I still saw 3 and outs too much.
I agree with that.
But I think he understands that now and says if we're not rolling, and they weren't when they were huddling, they weren't just going up and down the field at that point. I think he's learned a lesson from it, and which to me is a major plus as he gets into the SEC and some of these defenses that he's going to see. So that was a big plus to me. My 2 big pluses I wrote down were, number one, winning on the road against a top 20 team and not playing a great game. That even adds confidence to a team. I always said, man, when you win and you don't play great and you beat a good team, that's double confidence for your team because they're on a plane coming back saying, my gosh, we can play a whole lot better than that. And the second plus I put down was changing tempos on offense and being able to do that and getting better at that as the year goes on, because there were times I thought last year, Tony, they'd be in fourth quarters with leads and they just kept going fast. And I thought it was a mistake. I don't know that it cost them a game last year, but in some of those, I would have personally, that's just one old coach's opinion. Yeah. There's times last year in the fourth quarter, I'd have slowed it down a little bit and let some clock run a little bit more. But my question marks, Tony, were still inconsistent on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. You jump into SEC play and you're going to play Florida and Kentucky and LSU. Mm-hmm. It's got to be more consistent than they were to win those games. And it's going to start with Florida in 2 weeks.
We talked all off season about how Tennessee would start like gangbusters last year, get to the second quarter or third quarter and just die, and then pick it back up late. The other day, they almost didn't score in the first quarter, which would have been the first time in the Heupel era that occurred. They were almost down. If Trey Flowers doesn't pick a ball off, they would have been down 17-0.
Yes.
And that was happening. That was getting ready to happen. Tennessee was very flat-footed Saturday to start that game. Hendon Hooker is interesting to me because I don't know that he's as good as his numbers last year say that he was, but the number that sticks out to me is the 28 touchdowns, 2 interception number, somewhere in that neighborhood, which, you live with that any day of the week. He did not beat them on Saturday. He did not force anything. He did not try to throw balls that weren't there, though it wasn't going his way. And I think there's something to be said for that. I watched his counterpart at Florida the other night, and Kentucky, Brad White, those guys schemed him up. They had that Richardson kid in knots. He reacted to it. He threw balls up that shouldn't have been thrown. He saw things on the field that weren't there. And I think there's something to be said in major college football for a guy going out and having, I think Hooker would tell you probably. Now, the SEC named him the offensive player of the week because I guess his numbers were eye-popping, or maybe there weren't other, maybe it was just such a down week in the league. But I saw what you saw. I saw a quarterback that still has not played to the level he played last year. That said, he didn't hurt them. And I watched a lot of college football over the weekend, and there are a bunch of quarterbacks out there trying to make plays that weren't on the field in front of them. And give me a guy like this guy who might be a, step slow or whatever in the open fields, not the greatest open field runner, might not have the greatest arm in the world, but kind of knows his limitations. He's sort of a throwback guy to this point for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the two guys' difference in the game of the Florida guy and him, which we're going to be seeing that game here in 2 weeks, is Hooker is a better thrower than Richardson. Mm-hmm. He is a better thrower than Richardson is. He can make certain throws that Richardson can't make. Richardson is bigger, stronger, faster, and Florida is going to have to learn to use him right. I thought Florida, and I don't mean to get off, but it's going to be Tennessee's next big opponent. I thought they lost their patience in the game and started dropping back and throwing the ball. One thing, Tony, watch for the spread sets, and when they go fast, what Coach Heupel loves to do is he's going to spread you, wide, and then they get up off the ground, they snap in 7 seconds. What he does is he leaves his receivers on the same side. If they ran a pattern on the left, he puts the formation to the left where they don't have to cross the ball. That's how he goes, one of the ways he goes faster. But when you get in those big splits now, and Pitt manned them up a lot, it's harder to run man-to-man routes when that ball has to travel so far. It's going to be interesting to watch as the year goes on. Last year, they got a lot of zone. I'm thinking with those massive splits, they're going to get more man. But that led to the two receivers, McCoy and number 4. What's his name, Tony? I'm sorry.
Hyatt, Jalen Hyatt.
Those two guys can run the slants and the fades really well. He's found him two that are big enough, strong enough, and can do that. But I'm telling you, I still see some things offensively he's going to deal with, and I'm anxious to see people start manning him up a bunch like that. Does he cut those splits down and start running more crossing routes and stuff? It's going to be interesting to see how people play him after playing him 1 year.
Now, you're thinking about Tillman too, but, the 3 main guys are Hyatt, Tillman, and also McCoy, who you mentioned, who had 4 targets the other day and 4 catches. It just pops off the screen at you. But you make a great point. I was wondering at this level, what kind of adjustments, because they were not going to let Josh Heupel run roughshod over college football this year. It doesn't work that way. So it's going to be incumbent upon him to make adjustments. So let's say you're right. Let's say Florida rolls out and they play that type of defense and they're up there. The adjustments are you snap off routes, you get stuff in the slot. Is that the adjustment, Coach?
You try to run slants or seams. You try to give the inside receiver all the space to run the fade. But then you've got 2 bigger guys on the outside that can catch the fades and the slants. But that's about what you do when you've got those massive splits. You can run a hook. I wonder if he'll cut it down a little bit, Tony, and run those shallow crossing routes that all these passing mesh teams, as we call them, run. He's not done much of that I've seen, but his splits don't let him. His real wide splits don't let him do that.
Well, you know what else is interesting too? You think about the space they're leaving open, the middle of the field so far. I wonder if this is by design. I don't know. I would have thought to this point we'd see backs more, and particularly the freshman back. But he didn't play in the game the other day, and that was always at Central Florida just a common occurrence in his offense was using backs out of the backfield, and
he's going to do that.
I
think he's trying. Yeah, I think he's trying to develop the one he wants.
Yeah,
I think that he didn't play the young ones. That was such a big game. Pitt gives you a lot of looks.
Yep.
Protection is the last thing a young back gets. It's hard. It's just hard. Mentally, it's hard. It's also physically hard to block those big linebackers, things they got to block. You're going to see those young backs play more and more. He's going to he'll play them a bunch this week against Akron. And somebody is going to develop there by the time Florida gets here. He's going to pick the ones he wants. He's playing a lot of people right now. But and I don't know how much time we got left, George, but the last thing I had, Tony, to bring up to you is we're going to get to watch them play Florida, and that's huge. And we're talking about Georgia and Alabama, but Florida and Kentucky, you've still got to step by. And I'm telling you, Kentucky was impressive. That bunch was impressive Saturday night. They have learned how to win games.
You damn straight.
They're physical.
Yes.
They're mentally tough kids.
Yes.
They don't give in to anything.
No.
You better quit thinking Georgia and Alabama, and you better see if you can get by Florida and Kentucky. That's what I say.
I'll tell you what's remarkable. Kentucky gets in the ring with Florida, and they look like a heavyweight. They get in the ring with Tennessee, and they look like a lightweight. It is the strangest thing in the world. They've beaten that Florida team 3 out of 5 years now, and a couple of them were convincing wins. Like Saturday's win, there's nothing, and I mean nothing fluky about that. They beat that Florida team up. They're physical with them, and then they play Tennessee, and it's almost like the Tennessee-Florida series. And, college football, for that reason, guys, remains one of the more interesting sports in the world because that is as real as rain. That what I just talked about it's all over the place in college ball. That's as real as rain.
That's why, Tony, the SEC, George, I'll finish with this. That's why the SEC is week to week. If you try to get on down the road 3 or 4 games, you're nuts. It's week to week.
Even for the great teams. Look at Alabama last week.
Look at A&M.
And look at A&M. Yeah.
By the way, we have late word that Tennessee just threw a sideline pass to the right, and it was complete for 7. How many of those did they have in the Pittsburgh game? My God, it was like, this is automatic, go.
Hey, a couple of series, and I give Hooker credit. If you're going to give it to me and you're giving that to me in the coverage, he threw 3 balls in a row to Hyatt. He came back in one set and threw 2 straight balls to McCoy. And Coach will tell you that's what Heupel wants him to do. Read and recognition at the line of scrimmage. If that's what they're giving you, put it out there. I don't care what we called. If that's what they're giving you, put it out there. And I think the Vols have a pretty good little team here, guys. I think it's going to be I thought this was going to be a fun year coming into the season. It has been a while since it's been alive around here. It's really fun to do what I'm doing here right now.
Okay, so you are the perfect pulse for this question.
Mm-hmm.
We're still, I don't know, whatever it is, 11, 12 days away from Florida. Man, it's being talked about everywhere. What's it like up there?
It's just so fun. You can feel Tennessee's program coming back to life. And I told you guys last week that Pittsburgh game was a credibility game. The Florida game is a juice game. You get that Florida game and you're for Tennessee, and all of a sudden the wind is at your back like it hasn't been in a while. You get a week off, and then you get to rest up and go watch LSU the week before, play Mississippi State, which is going to be not easy for them, and just relax and eat some popcorn. And I tell you, this place is it's pretty special. It really is. When it gets like this, and I've forgotten how special this place can get when the football team gives the fan base some hope, because these are really great fans here.
So if a person wanted 2 on the 50, what do you think they got to shell out?
Whew. Better bring $1,000.
That's kind of what I was thinking you'd say.
Yeah, better bring $1,000. Yeah,
That's strong. Okay,
well,
anything else? Oh, I know.
Well, you'll appreciate. I have a client the other day asked me, and I'm in business for myself, sell my own thing, do my own thing, kill it and grill it, as I like to call it. I had a client ask me, he said, I need 4 tickets to the Florida game. And I said, all right. I said, do they have to be good? He said, no, just get me in the stadium. I said, bless you. Bless you. Because I'm going to buy them for him. It's just a matter of how much am I going to pay? You know what I mean, George? Right. I was wincing there.
We'll trade you 8 for the Akron game.
There you go.
Okay, that was ugly. Shouldn't have been 8. It should have been 16.
Yeah.
Give me a little info, because obviously this show keeps growing that you're doing after the games, and it's only going to get bigger. How can they hear you after Saturday? Yeah,
so my website is tclub.team. I had a couple people, George, today call and say they found me through you. So thank you.
Awesome.
tclub.
It's been the other way around as well, by the way.
There you go. And that's where you find me. As soon as the game ends, we do a live call-in show. Last week, that game ended. I thought it was never going to end. God, these games are so long. I don't see how these coaches concentrate. Anyway, enough editorializing. 8:00 Eastern, I guess. We were on till after 2. Finally, I looked up at my computer here and I was like, it said 6 hours and something. And I went, I'm going to sleep. Now, I got to tell you, when I went to sleep, we had several thousand people listening to us because I can check my back line. And we had all my lines jammed. And I just said to people, look, love you.
I got to go to bed.
See you Monday morning,
That is awesome. Tony, thank you as always.
Hey, you guys be blessed. Thanks.